Hey folks, back with another video. Now in this video I will talk about some of my critiques of Bernie Sanders. As you might know, Bernie Sanders recently suspended his presidential campaign, and I thought this would be a perfect time to share what some of the things about Bernie Sanders' campaign this time round, some of the things that made him unpalatable to me, and I'm sure anyone who thinks like me. Let's dive in. Now, any criticism of Bernie Sanders that does not include his 2016 favorite, let's just say a short line, the millionaires and the billionaires. In 2016, he had a clear message against the 1%, the super rich, i.e., the millionaires and the billionaires. But after 2016 campaign, when he himself became a millionaire, well, come 2020, he all of a sudden dropped the millionaire. And that kind of just shows to me that he isn't really a man who understands his own principles. Moving forward, his praising of Castro while at the same time opposing Trump. Castro, for I mean, there is almost no good can be said of Fidel Castro. This guy was a brutal dictator. He was the closest thing to evil one can say. Sure, there were more evil people than him, but for the people of Cuba, Castro was just evil. He killed, slaughtered his own people. He orchestrated everything. He destroyed the beautiful nation of Cuba. Just completely destroyed it with his buddy Che Guevara, who, I mean, basically is no revolutionary. He was a murderer, genocidal maniac people. He is evil. And compared to him, Trump is almost an angel. I mean, Trump has not done anything as horrible as Castro has done. I can bet you that, I mean, the fact is that praising Castro while living inside the country that is Trump, to me, just shows. And in fact, here's the thing, right? Nobody inside Cuba can criticize Castro, whereas in the Trump's America, you can openly criticize Trump. I mean, that one thing alone makes Trump so much better than Castro. And there's plenty of other things that make Trump better than Castro. I mean, there's no competition. Trump is, compared to Castro, clearly a good guy. And this is where it kind of bugs me, is that it seems that Bernie Sanders just doesn't have a strong moral conviction when it comes to his, let's just say, socialist dictators. He just can't seem to find, he just doesn't have the courage required. Anyhow, talking of courage, let's talk about some of his intellect. He consistently misidentifies the Scandinavian countries as socialist. They are nothing of the sort. They are, in a political sense, a social democracies. In fact, economically speaking, they are a free market country with a generous welfare state, which is a completely different structure of society than the socialist. In the socialist countries, the government owns everything, whereas in the Scandinavian countries, they tend to have higher taxes and basically everyone's free to do whatever they want. And they just need to follow the rules that the government passes. That's about it. Kind of like what they have in America. follow the rules, you're free to do whatever you want. And so when Bernie Sanders praises countries like Scandinavia and then opposes America, it basically, to me, just shows that he is intellectually either not curious or he just doesn't care. He's all about the, you know, the placards of just slogan politics and not actual politics. And continuing further is the fact that when Venezuela was, you know, let's just say eating up its capital and doing good while destroying its economy in the process, when Venezuela was doing fine, Bernie Sanders praised Venezuela. But as soon as collapsed, Venezuela's collapse, and Bernie was nowhere to be found to say anything. I mean, he hardly said, "Oh, it's just corrupt people taking over." I mean, it was basically the same structure. Nothing had changed. Most of the people were still the same. Before Maduro, after Maduro, well, actually before Maduro was Chavez. And, when Maduro came, it wasn't much of a change. The only thing was that by that time they had basically spent all their money. And so they couldn't do any more. Well, they just let their whole economies die. And it is this thing, I think, that kind of made it clear to a lot of people that he is not a good leadership material. He is all talk and he can't take, let's just say, the necessary action when it's needed, such as being able to stand up against his radical supporters. I mean, this happened to him in 2016 and it happened to him in 2020. I mean, just radical supporters would just come up the stage and just take over, and he couldn't even fight against them in any meaningful way. He just caved in to the radicals. And while at the moment it seemed that, Bernie might have done something right, maybe in his head, but to the people in general, I think they looked at it and they just go, "Oh, I'm not supporting this guy. This guy can't stand up to the radicals." The moderates were basically scared to see that Bernie's campaign is being run by radicals. And as if we needed proof, we had Project Veritas confirm that Bernie Sanders has actually employed people who hate American, who just hate American people, who hate their opponents, and they are willing to do the most evil things to their own fellow countrymen. This was probably, this is something the media did not, well, pick, didn't talk about, but this was something that is just, let's just say, in the space of the internet was sort of obvious. It was something that everyone on the internet picked up. And I think the Project Veritas has done a fantastic job so far. Sure, they might have made some mistakes here and there that I'm sure we're all aware of, but generally they have done a great journalistic job, journalistic duty. And that's the end of my short, sort of, should I say, just a little rambling on Bernie Sanders. And so, Joe Biden is now the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party in 2020. If you liked the video, then hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next video.